The Trabant is one of the most iconic flat rides of all time. It was introduced in 1965 by American ride manufacturer Chance Rides. The ride was a rotating disc placed on a raisable hydraulic arm. The arm itself was able to raise to around 55 degrees and was able to spin on its own axis. The cone-shaped disc connected to it featured 20 rider seats that could each accommodate 2 riders, making for a capacity of 40 riders per cycle. Each seat featured a simple single locking lap bar. The ride was available in a variety of different themes, including the roulette wheel theme, a generic theme, and a southern theme. It was available in both park and transportable models. The ride would be a hit with both parks and showmen, seeing around 25 sold. Some notable operating examples of the ride include Gyroforce at Carowinds. This ride just opened in the park in 2023 after being relocated from Adventureland in Iowa, where it operated under the name Lady Luck with the roulette wheel theme. The ride was originally installed at Adventureland in 1974, so by the time it was bought by Carowinds, it was in need of serious work as well as a retheme to fit in with the flight-themed area. Carowinds completed this work and the ride is now themed to a jet engine. Though it does run slower than other examples of the ride, it is likely to last quite some time. A few other notable examples of the Trabant include Trabant at Michigan's Adventure, which actually originally opened at Kentucky Kingdom in 1989, and El Sombrero at Six Flags Over Texas. This is actually the oldest operating Trabant known to exist, originally opening in 1965. The Trabant was not without its competitors though. Around 1970, German manufacturer Mach Rides introduced the Hully-Gully. This was a refined tank on the Trabant with more theming and a slightly different design. The core of the ride was the same though, featuring a spinning lifting arm as well as a cone-shaped disc seating 40 riders. The Mach Hully-Gully featured a different locking mechanism for the restraints as well as a tilted platform, meaning riders started off on an angle rather than on flat ground like on the Trabant. The ride also featured a backdrop and was offered with a figure in the middle of the cone that could rotate independently of the riders. These rides were visually impressive and well liked. Unfortunately, time was not very kind to them and they became maintenance nightmares as they aged. Cedar Point, for example, installed one in 1970 and removed it in 2002. Interestingly, the ride was sold to the small park Strickers Grove in southern Ohio, but it was too cost prohibitive to rebuild and reopen, so the ride was scrapped. Six Flags Great Adventure also bought one, adding it to the park in 1975, then removing it in 1987. Then, surprisingly, they refurbished and rethemed the ride to bring it back in 1993. The ride would finally close for good in 2001 after just 8 seasons of operation since the refurbishment. This is a true testament to how badly these rides aged. A few traveling versions of the ride do appear sporadically today at fairs through Europe. That would not be the end of the ride model's history though. In 1991, Chance Rides would discontinue the original Trabant but introduce the Wipeout. This took the basic design of the Trabant and improved it, slightly increasing the speed that the cone rotated at while adding seats that faced back to back. This did not increase the capacity of the ride as it still featured 20 two-person seats, but it did make for a more exciting ride experience, giving riders the chance to ride backwards. The ride also came with an updated restraint mechanism that was automatically locking, decreasing the load and unload time of the ride. Like the old version, it was available as both a traveling and permanent version. At least 17 would be built between 1991 and 2008. Some notable installations of the ride include Wipeout at Waldameer, which opened in 1995, and Cyclone Sam's at Worlds of Fun, which also opened in 1995. This ride is an indoor version of the ride with extensive theming. The ride model was discontinued around 2020, but none had been sold since 2008, with the last produced example of the ride going to Knoebels. Though the story still does not end for these rides, as in 2018, Chance Rides introduced the next generation, named the Freestyle. Much like the rides before it, it features a center rotating arm as well as a cone-shaped disc for riders. Unlike older versions of the ride, it features outward-facing seats. Due to the higher forward accelerations placed on riders in this seating arrangement, it needs more restrictive restraints. Chance Rides opted for over-the-shoulder restraints in this case. The ride is also smaller with an overall capacity of just 24 riders per cycle compared to the 40 riders possible in the previous 2 models. The ride is available in both park and traveling models. The traveling model can be completely transported on just one trailer. So far, only 2 are known to have been sold, one to Six Flags Great Escape and one to Six Flags New England. Both rides actually replaced older versions of the ride at their respective park, with Great Escapes replacing an original Trabant that closed in 2010, and New England's replacing their Wipeout that closed in 2019. As with any popular ride, there are other manufacturers that have made their own variations. For example, Chinese manufacturer Nanfong has made a modern version of the classic Trabant, and Italian manufacturer SBF Visa has made their own take on the freestyle, called the Reverse Time. The Reverse Time comes in both a 12 and 24 seat version, making it appealing to FECs. A Reverse Time 24 can be found at the island at Pigeon Forge. There are likely other rides that take heavy inspiration from the Trabant that I have not covered in the scope of this video. It's safe to say that the design of the Trabant has had a large impact on the modern industry that exists today. While many of the original rides are gone, a surprising number of them still exist, and modern variations of the ride are sure to be made well into the future, ensuring that this ride type will have a lasting legacy. As always, if we missed something or got something wrong, please let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching and see you next week.